Haunting Adeline's getting a movie.
Huh?
I thought really long and hard about how I'm gonna break this news to you guys, and
What?
I decided to just be myself, so Haunting Adeline's getting a movie.
Oh. Okay.
You guys asked me to make a video on Haunting Adeline being adapted into a movie, and as somebody who has read the book, I'm here to give my insights into this drama.
Let us commence forth!
So H.D Carlton officially announced that Haunting Adeline, the book that essentially functions as a manual for breaking and entering, is being adapted into a movie. And she isn't just handing over the rights, she's co-producing and co-directing, promising her fans that nothing will be watered down.
It will be the book coming to life. It's going to be everything that you love about Haunting Adeline, except in movie format.
Okay.
Immediately after the announcement, the community was divided. The hardcore fans were excited, while the critics, and interestingly enough, many dark romance readers as well, were opposing the idea of this movie adaptation. Overnight, a petition was started to cancel the adaptation. However, Carlton made another video where she announced that the movie is happening no matter what, and she's not going to cut off any major scenes.
And reader of mine or not, I am so incredibly privileged to be in the same community as you all. And I am very incredibly privileged that so many of you are my readers. This movie is still happening, and we are doing it for you guys.
Clock that T.
Oh, and she's also turning this into a graphic novel. There's so much drama going on, and I'm all in for it. Okay, first and foremost, let's have a reality check on how the industry actually works, because there's a severe lack of media literacy happening on BookTok right now. A book does not just magically become a movie overnight. Most of the time, it goes through 3 distinct stages. First, you get optioned. A producer pays you a fee to call dibs on your book so no one else can buy it. It's a placeholder. It doesn't mean a movie is happening. It means someone is holding the rights while they try to figure out if it's even possible. Most books stay in this phase forever. Then you reach the second stage, which is the development hell. This is where projects go to die. This is where the lawyers and the budget people actually read the source material. The projects get developed, rewritten, staffed, negotiated, and generally kicked around until someone decides whether it can actually be made. This is exactly what happened to Akuter. Hulu and 20 Television announced the adaptation back in 2021, but it remained in the development for years until the project was ultimately scrapped in 2025. Well, I guess the budget for the wings and the magic combined with the spice made it a huge financial risk for the studio to swallow.
Oh, Lord. I'm sorry. I'm just in a silly, goofy mood.
Finally, you get the green light. That's when a studio signs the check, hires the actors, and sets a filming date. Apparently, Lights Out by Nevesta Allen is moving forward at Netflix. Lights Out is pitched as a dark rom-com, making it much easier for a mainstream studio to sanitize for a TV MA rating. As for Haunting Adeline, you know it's radioactive. Carlton announced development on July 15th, but right now there's no major studio attached, no official cast, no distributor. It's just her and Courtney Solomon, 2 ambitious people hoping to make this work. Fans are already dream casting actors and models like Michele Morone, Gabriel Basso, Alexa Gavrilovich, Trevor Wagner, and many more. But let's be real, what serious actor is touching Zayd Meadows even with a 10-foot pole? Your career would be over before the trailer is finished. You'd be the gun scene guy for the rest of your life. What agent in their right mind is gonna let their client take this role? I wouldn't be surprised if they end up with a cast of influencers or D-list actors who are desperate for a paycheck. And the acting is gonna be so wooden, it's gonna make 50 Shades look like The Godfather. Carlton is promising no cuts, but the real gatekeepers haven't even entered the room yet. The second a real distributor sees the gun scene or the graphic non-con elements, I believe they're gonna run for the hills. You cannot tone down a kidnapping. If you take crimes out of Haunting Adeline, there's literally no story left. So unless they plan on releasing this somewhere unconventional, that no-cut promise is gonna hit the real world pretty fast.
Yeah, it's true. Ask about it.
Now let's look at the faithful adaptation trap. Carlton dropped a follow-up video doubling down on the chaos, bragging that she specifically chose the movie route because no streaming service or network on the planet would touch the story without trying to tame it.
As for why it's a movie, not a TV show, as much as we both would love for it to be a TV show, there is not, at this current time, a streaming service or network that exists that will platform the TV show without sticking their fingers in it and trying to take things down, cut things out, and chop it up into pieces on what they think it should look like and, what they want it to be. And that is just not something that Courtney and I are willing to do. So a movie it has to be.
She's promising the fans that the most infamous scenes, including the one with the gun, are gonna be there in their full graphic glory.
I said, damn, bitch!
This brings us to the NC-17 problem. If Carlton keeps her promise of no cuts, this movie will easily end up in NC-17 or unrated territory. So where is this movie gonna live? on a private website for $20 a pop, to be honest, financial loss might not be a problem here. Carlton already has an audience willing to spend money on this fantasy. At this point, Zaid Meadows is basically a business model. You bought the books, now here's the graphic novel. Done with that? Great, here comes the movie. And then what? Zaid hoodies? A video game? A collectible figurine? A Zaid Meadows subscription box? The fantasy keeps changing formats, and somehow the credit card keeps coming out.
I'm gonna give the girls exactly what the fuck they asked for. The girls is going to know my wrath. Trust me!
On the flip side, if they sanitize it to get a standard R for theaters, the hardcore fans will accuse them of ruining the book and giving false promises. And that's the fundamental issue with the transition from pages to screen. Prose can keep you inside a character's head. A camera puts the physical action right in your face. In the book, you're stuck in Adeline's head. You're reading her internal monologues as she tries to rationalize her fear into passion. You're seeing the world through Adeline's traumatized perspective, including her attempts to make sense of what is happening to her. When you put those scenes on screen, you're not inside her head anymore. You're watching a man surveil a woman. You're watching a man break into her house or her car and sexually assault her while she's saying no and please don't. Without her internal rationalization, the visual reality becomes a graphic crime.
There are actually people in the comment section and they're like, oh my God, I can't wait for the gun scene. Do you people know that Adeline is a woman? Do you people know that she said don't? She said please, she said don't, she said oh my God, please don't. Countless times, countless times, countless times. I read chapter 16 just to make sure that we all actually read the same book. My body is full of rage, humiliation, and shame, I know this. But it's like my brain can process those emotions, so it's just choosing to feel nothing at all. Is this what trauma does? Knowing you've been violated, but your body chooses to go numb instead? You did not understand Zaid. Okay. Anyways, the last one, with one last lingering look, he turns and walks out without a word. And finally, the dam burst as emotions crash through my body and flood out of my eyes. She cried. She was violated. She cried. Anyways, I read chapter 16 because I wanted to make sure if this is the exact same book as getting a movie adaptation, as in a movie where it could be easily accessible to men out there, real men, like in the real world, could actually watch this movie. Children could watch this movie as well. Men are going to watch this movie. And booktok is going to cancel out Adeline out of this entire book, and they're just going to focus on Zaid in the movie. Inserted a gun into her. And then after that, I just like wiped his gun and just left and just like walked out the room. And then she's sitting there sobbing. Cried. She said please. She said no, please don't. Countless times. She said no countless times. Women are going to watch this movie and see that scene, and they're going to be like giggling and laughing because of what Zaid was doing to Adeline.
Seeing real actors perform these acts on screen can strip away some of that fantasy distance. Suddenly, the things you imagine privately is right there in front of you. And as we know, Courtney Solomon is the one producing and co-directing this. Now, sure, he co-produced the after movies. You know those Wattpad fanfiction films where the peak of darkness was a guy throwing a moody tantrum and kicking a lamp. But Solomon's main work is veteran horror. He founded After Dark Films and is currently producing The Strangers reboots. Bringing in someone with heavy horror background makes this even more wild. On screen, without Adeline's internal monologues to romanticize what's happening, this could easily start looking less like a romance and more like a home invasion thriller. I think Solomon isn't going to film a swoon-worthy romance. I think he's going to film a stalking horror movie.
Not really. Maybe.
If he leans into full horror element, the dark romance fans lose their swoon fantasy. If he sanitizes it to match the After franchise, the hardcore book stands will riot. It's gonna be a total mismatch of expectations. You know, the part that is actually funny to me is the character writing for Zaid Meadows. This guy operates on a moral bank account. The author gave him this daytime job of a vigilante who saves people from human trafficking, just so she could justify him committing absolute atrocities in his private life. Some fans even commented that we need Zaid to save the world. You mean you need a fictional criminal to fight real-world criminals? That's like bringing in a shark to protect you from a jellyfish. Like, how bad does a character have to be that your only way to make him lovable and justifiable is to pit him against one of the most reviled crimes in human existence?
Dang. That's tough.
It's a narrative shortcut. Instead of writing a complex redemptive arc, the book just says, look, he's not as bad as a human trafficker. That is the lowest moral bar in the history of literature. It's buried in the basement. You can't balance out domestic abuse and stalking with a part-time job of a crime fighter. And then of course we have Carlton's reaction to the backlash. She's out here calling critics bullies and saying that she feels sorry for her fans who are being harassed. She's using the survivor shield, claiming that anyone who hates the book is actually shaming survivors who use dark romance to cope. I think this is where things get genuinely manipulative. Okay, let me be completely clear. I have always been open about my criticism of dark romance, and I stand firmly against the romanticization of abuse and violence, period. But I also recognize that people's personal lives are complex. If an individual reader uses dark fiction or whatever in the privacy of their own home or personal space to process real-world trauma or regain a sense of control, that is their personal journey. Even if I don't personally understand how a book like this functions as a catharsis, I still respect everyone's right to process their lives privately without public judgment. But what Carlton is doing here isn't protecting survivors, she's weaponizing them. She's framing legitimate critique of a mainstream movie deal as bullying, and claiming that if you have a problem with a film depicting and romanticizing graphic, predatory behavior, you're shaming survivors who use dark romance to cope. But that is a transparent deflection and a big logical leap. There's a world of difference between an individual privately reading dark fiction for catharsis and a commercial enterprise putting non-consensual acts on 4K screens for profit. Using your fanbase's genuine trauma as a human shield to dodge valid industry critique of your movie contract isn't advocacy. It's professional victimhood used to protect a paycheck.
Fucking tell me that if this man right here, if this fucking man was outside of your house right now, peeking in your little fucking window, leaving your little fucking roses all over your kitchen counter, that you would not let.
You make me sick. What the fuck are we doing? What the fuck is wrong with you? Stop celebrating the fact that they want to turn that god-awful book into a movie, okay? And I am not shaming people who read the books and who enjoy it. That's your thing. But we do not need a movie portraying violence in a society that is already very violent towards women. We just simply don't need it, okay? My personal reaction would be I would either call the cops, get my baseball bat, or get the fuck out of the house when a strange man breaks into my home, leaves clues that he's there, and tries to sexually assault me, like a normal person would do. And if that does not clock up there, seek professional help. Stop advocating for this movie. Stop glorifying rape, okay? Like, have we lost all common sense? Have we learned nothing from 50 Shades of Grey? And your only argument, by the way, is that he is attractive. Go fuck yourself. We all know if Zayd Meadows wasn't attractive, no one would put up with this bullshit. Like, are you well? Genuinely. What the fuck? It shouldn't be a matter of, oh, well, he's so attractive, he can commit atrocious crimes towards women. Like, he's so handsome, he's allowed to do that. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Another point to note is that many people are comparing this to 50 Shades of Grey. But the thing is that compared to 50 Shades, Haunting Adeline is way more extreme. First of all, 50 Shades was about a wealthy guy with a negotiated BDSM contract. However flawed or toxic it was written, it still operated with the language of consent, safe words, and power play. Haunting Adeline is built on total absence of consent. It centers on non-consensual stalking, forced captivity, and graphic and framing that as romantic shifts the entire overtone window of what we consider acceptable for mainstream entertainment. Listen, seeing violent, disturbing characters on screen is nothing new. Look at American Psycho, Gone Girl, You, Silence of the Lamb, and many more. But those stories explicitly frame predatory behavior as pathology or psychological horror. Haunting Adeline frames it as desirable.
You guys are fine with horror movies, but not with this, or it's just a dark romance, this is just how they are. That is not how it works. In thrillers and horror movies, they face consequences, or they're shown as a straight-up monster. In this book, not only does he face no accountability, no consequences, and gets the girl. Are we seeing the difference? Another stupid defense, in my opinion, and I'm going to read from a comment here. It's just CNC and primal play. Women are allowed to explore forbidden fantasies and kinks without being shamed. Please go back and watch my other video, and if you think I am kink shaming, watch it again, because I did not say a single thing about kink shaming. And if we're on the topic of kinks, CNC stands for consent, non-consent. Consent is something that was not given in this book. He raped her 3 times, and in all of those 3 times, she's full on begging him to stop, and he continues. Textbook rape. This one I think is a really shady way to try and defend a book with rape in it. Dark romance is therapist approved. It helps survivors process real-world trauma, deal with mental health issues, and take back control in a safe space. Using any like medical terms or therapy-esque terms to shut down valid critiques of this book and or movie, and implying that anyone who criticizes this book is harming survivors is crazy. And many of the survivors who actually texted me find this deeply harmful to create a love story on rape and sexual assault and to reward the predator in the story. It's about a man being so irresistibly drawn to a woman that he can't control himself. Women crave giving up power to someone they trust. Does this not scream rape culture? Framing an assault or rape as a man just being so irresistibly drawn to a woman that he loses control is an exact excuse that an actual real-life rapist would probably use. It's the same as like saying, oh, she was wearing a short skirt, she was asking for it. And the final thing I have to say, if you don't like my video or if you disagree with my opinion, you're more than welcome to argue in the comments. You are not welcome, however, to make breaking rape threats.
And here's the biggest difference everyone seems to forget. 50 Shades worked commercially mostly because Universal adapted the book into something that could actually get an R rating and play in mainstream theaters. And even then, it still faced huge global backlash. Carlton is doing the exact opposite. She's out here bragging that she specifically chose an independent route because no major network or streaming platform would touch the project without taming it down or chopping it into pieces. She's promising no cuts, including the most graphic non-con scenes, by stubbornly rejecting the exact sanitization process that made 50 Shades commercially viable. Carlton guarantees that major theater chains and mainstream platforms will not host this movie.
Are you surprised? Why is that so
It's not going to trigger some massive mainstream cultural takeover. It's going to expose the absolute worst, most extreme corners of the genre to a much wider audience and probably create one hell of a controversy. I think the most important thing here is the exposure. Keeping it to a book is one thing. The book space is private and the fantasy is limitless in your head. But a movie makes it reachable. It makes it public. The clips of this movie will circulate on social media. We already have kids like 10-year or 12-year-olds reading this book because they saw an aesthetic edit. Now imagine those same kids and more new kids being exposed to visual scenes of predatory behavior being framed as desirable. These kids are in their formative years, learning how relationships work. If they see a so-called hero who disregards a woman's no and please don't, they're gonna grow up thinking that's what love looks like. This is a very critical situation. I don't need to explain anymore. At the end of the day, this whole announcement feels like a PR play to keep Zayd Meadows' cult hyped. Carlton is out here promising an uncut, ultra-faithful adaptation while rejecting every standard industry channel that could put it in mainstream theaters. It's essentially delusion as a marketing strategy. It's a win-win for her brand. If the movie somehow gets made, her fanbase buys in. If it gets bogged down or locked behind a paywall, she gets to play the victim, blame censorship, and look like a martyr.
Interesting.
But while she's busy collecting hype, she's leaving her own community to deal with the fallout. That's why so many dark romance fans themselves are cancelling the movie. A lot of them understand that this stuff only works because it stays in your imagination. Visualizing it for a mainstream audience that doesn't understand the genre isn't validation. It's just inviting a huge cultural backlash that could backfire and nuke the entire genre's already fragile reputation. Haunting Adeline the movie might be in the works, but the disaster following right behind it is guaranteed. Believe it or not, even I am starting to worry about where the dark romance community goes from here. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. Okay, bye.
It's my birthday!